Hello, hello. Welcome to NJ Thrive's Small Business Webinars. Today is Thursday, October 19th, and you are joining our weekly webinar created to help New Jersey small business owners start, grow, and thrive. Thank you so much for joining us. These webinars are brought to you by America's SBDC New Jersey. If you are new here, welcome. If you have been attending our webinars, thank you so much for joining and thank you for your support. We always look forward to having everyone, whether new or old, joining us every Thursday. I am your host for today, Uzma Sheikh, and we are NJSBDC, and that stands for New Jersey Small Business Development Centers Network, a statewide program powered by the SBA and partners to help small businesses in New Jersey with three key things. And those are no-cost small business consulting, training and events starting at $0, and exclusive small business resources. You can see on the map on the right over here where you'll see the little SBDC logos. That's where our regional centers are located. So if you're interested in receiving at no cost counseling, please go to our website, njsbdc.com, and you'll find our regional centers based on your county available. So today's webinar is actually part of our tech team and tech series, and our network has a tech team, which is an exclusive technology commercialization team providing technical support and guidance to eligible innovators for SBIR and STTR grants to fund the R&D towards commercialization of tech innovation. A lot of acronyms, but don't worry, we'll make sure to explain them. And the three key things that the tech team helps with is no cost pitch to proposal consulting, training and events starting at $0, exclusive small business tech resources. And if you'd like to learn more, go to njsbdc.com /tech team. While I'm doing the little briefing, the little intro, feel free to tell us in the chat where you're from, what you do, who you are, what your small business is about, any social media information or website. You never know, you'll find your next investor or partner or just a cheerleader as you network in part of the webinar. All right, so we have on the agenda some of the headlines that we share that are happening in the small business community throughout New Jersey, our presentation from our speaker, and at the end we'll have our Q&A session. If you can't hear me or see me properly or our speaker throughout the webinar, just let us know in the chat and we'll do our best to help you. But let me just take you through this, our headlines for today. And these headlines we do have that will be shared in the chat. So I highly, highly recommend that the news articles or press releases that I'm sharing right now, you go and take a look, as I will only be covering them briefly. So first headline that we have right now is Biden-Harris administration announces record $3 billion in lending to Latino-owned small businesses. Number of SBA-backed loans to Latino-owned small businesses has doubled under Biden-Harris administration. This was just published recently by SBA.gov. And Administrator Isabel Guzman announced that more than 33 million small businesses announced newly finalized fiscal year 2023, showing that the rate of SBA-backed loans to Latino-owned small businesses has doubled. And it has the information right over here, the breakdown of what kind of loans, the share and the dollars, historic small business boom being led by women and people of color, so yay, and links to some of the programs. So please check it out. Please read up on it. You never know, it might be beneficial to your business. NJEDA continues momentum of SBIR program with approval of $20 million in tax credits for senior residential developments. They will support affordable senior housing in Essex and Gloucester counties. Sorry if I said that wrong. If this is applicable to you, again, please read up on it. The board has approved a total of $294 million in SBIR awards for residential projects leading to the creation and preservation of over 1,500 housing units, nearly 70% of which will be affordable. This is also big news, so check it out. The links are shared. Press release from NJEDA, our third and final headline. NJEDA continues momentum of SBIR program with approval. Okay, that is the same link as that. Apologies. Here's the third one. Okay, there is a glitch here somewhere. Apologies. We will make sure to share the correct links. But let me continue with the slideshow. So these links will be shared in our surveys or in the chat. So things to keep in mind as we move forward with the webinar. If you have any questions, I see your responses coming in through the chat, but if you have any questions regarding NJSBDC or our speaker, the speaker's presentation, please go to the Q&A box that is different from the chat, so we can address your questions at the end during our Q&A session, because we don't want to miss them if you put them in the chat. And if you would like to receive our speaker's presentation, the slides, please complete the 3-minute survey and you will receive the webinar resources. And as always, this is being recorded, so it will be available to you in the next 2 to 3 business days on our YouTube channel or on our website, so keep a lookout. All right, enough from me. Get ready to hear from Eileen Chant, who is the Outreach Manager for the DOE's Office of SBIR and STTR Programs, and why they're important, innovating with the U.S. Department of Energy. Eileen, welcome. Thank you so much for being our speaker today. I'm sure our audience is excited to hear from you. And I will hand over the sharing permissions to you now. Go ahead and share.
Thank you, Uzma. Go ahead and share my screen. I am recovering from my first ever bout of COVID. So I do have a little bit of a congested, scratchy throat.
That's okay.
So apologize for that. Okay. SBIR, STTR. I'm happy to be here and be talking to you about our programs. I am with the Department of Energy, but I do want everybody to know that there are 11 agencies that offer SBIR, STTR funding. The SBIR program is also known as America's Seed Fund. These are federally funded, both contracts and grants, designed to stimulate commercialization of technological innovation using small businesses. SBIR starts with an early stage idea. We fund high risk ideas because the things that are too early for the private sector to be interested in funding. That's a good space for the government to operate in. So our phase 1 funding, as you'll learn as I go through my presentation, couldn't be as simple as an idea in your head. Or it can be taking an already developed technology and tweaking it in a new direction. But you should investigate if you're interested in receiving SBIR funding, you should investigate all of the agencies. There's a lot of overlap in what we fund, in what the USDA funds, the Department of Defense, etc. I have my email address here at the bottom. Feel free to reach out to me if you have questions about our program. America's Seed Fund is a program that is allocated by Congress, and it's for any agency that has over $100 million a year in extramural R&D. Congress has stipulated that 3.2% of extramural R&D must be diverted to small businesses to conduct research and development, to develop their technology and take it to the commercial marketplace. Our funding is, as I mentioned, early stage, and it's non-dilutive. What does that mean? That means that We don't take a piece of your company. We don't take your intellectual property. And you don't have, it's not a loan. You don't have to pay it back. Research and development doesn't always pan out. If your research fails, or if your research is successful, regardless, you don't have to pay it back. It's a really good deal. It's up to $2 million in funding to investigate and pursue technology demonstration and development of an early stage idea. So who's eligible? It is a small business program. You must be a small business. And small business is fairly liberally defined in this case as under fewer than 500 employees. Congress is interested in stimulating technology development that is performed in the United States and will stay in the United States. So you must be a greater than 51% US citizen or permanent resident owned and controlled small business. You must be a for-profit institution. All of the work must be performed in the United States, all of the research and development, except in very, very limited number of cases that must be, the subcontractor work as well must be performed in the United States. For SBIR, the principal investigator must be primarily employed by the small business. That means 20 hours or more per week. For STTR, there's an exception to that, and I'll show you that in a minute. But you can go to the SBIR.gov, which is the Small Business Administration site, and learn more about these details. In fiscal year 2022, the SBIR programs provided grants and contracts in excess of $4 billion, funding 7,000 small businesses across the country. You can see that Department of Defense is by far the largest, NIH becoming the second largest, but DOE is the third largest SBIR STTR program. The top 6 agencies also have STTR programs, which is that they have over $1 billion in research per year. And so at that point, the STTR program kicks in, and that's 0.45% of the agency's extramural R&D. Some agencies are granting agencies, some agencies are contracting agencies. Grantings are in blue, granting is in green and contracting is in blue. And there are some differences, and it is important for you to understand the differences. I will explain that in one of the upcoming slides. Okay, a little bit specific about the Department of Energy. Now I'm going into DOE, but I'm happy to try to answer questions about the federal programs in general as well. We issue grants, not contracts. And what does that mean? That means that the department, one of the most significant things from your perspective is that the Department of Energy is not going to be your customer at the end of the day. If you're making some kind of widget for the Department of Defense, they very well may be your customer at the end of the day. They may be purchasing the technology that you're developing as part, of their mission. However, for the Department of Energy, we are not likely to be your customer. Maybe you're going to sell an instrument you developed to the national labs in some cases, but we expect you to have an idea that does advance our mission, the DOE mission, but also you have the plans and the intention to take it to the private sector and to develop it into a successfully commercial product. So the grant it's your idea, it's something that you're taking, you're getting grant for. There's no deliverable to us at the end of the day. You need to execute what you said you were going to execute. There's a report that's required for accountability purposes, but you're not delivering the technology to us for the most part. We issue focused topics. You have to be a good fit with us, you have to be really responding to one of our topics. Subtopic pairs, and really be addressing what the problem or the need that's identified in the subtopic pair. A lot of our topics are around energy, decarbonization, energy efficiency, but there's more to us, a lot more to us than that. We are also interested in understanding energy, understanding materials, better manufacturing practices, and that is in a lot of that is in our basic energy and engineering sciences. We have accelerators, meaning particle accelerators. We have facilities that study nuclear physics and study high energy physics, and there's a lot of needs around that research and development. And we are also tasked with nuclear security, so we have topics in that area as well too. So there's a lot of like instrumentation development, quantum computing, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and better lasers, better spectrometers, in addition to all of the clean energy technologies that you would associate with the Department of Energy. We have 2 phase 1 solicitations per year. I'll talk about the one that's coming up, where the topics are coming out next month, and you do need to mark your calendars for November 6th. Another unique thing about our program is that a letter of intent is required. About 6 weeks after the topics come out, you do have to submit a letter saying which topic and subtopic pair you're going to apply to, and what you're, in 500 words or less, what it is that you're going to propose. Very importantly, for newcomers to our program, if you have never submitted an application to our program before, you are eligible to receive phase 0 application assistance. That's the name of our program. We have a vendor. The vendor is Dawn Breaker at this point in time, and it is an expansive program. It takes months to fill up. If you're eligible for the program, meaning a first timer, you have picked a topic and a subtopic, and you have an idea that is reasonably addressing the topic and subtopic, and you're qualified to carry out the proposed research, you really will be able to get into the program. It doesn't fill up for at least 2 months in the 3-month cycle. So if you have your ducks in a row, you will be able to get into the program, and you will receive a coach who will help you put your application together. Okay, so as I mentioned, SBIR is 3.2% of the extramural R&D budget for agencies, as long as they have an R&D budget over 100 million. There's over 3.9 billion spent each year by the 11 agencies. The STTR program, there's 6 of those programs, so it's the 6 largest agencies. 510 million is spent per year, and USDA just started their program in fiscal year 2022. And by the way, USDA has a lot of energy topics as well, as long as it's related to agricultural energy and agricultural decarbonization. So we do have a fair amount of overlap with the USDA. There are 7,000 awards issued annually. At least a quarter of the awards are to small businesses that have not received SBIR awards ever before. A little bit about the differences between SBIR and STTR. For SBIR, the small business has to conduct a minimum of 2/3 of the research and development. And then 1/3 is available, the small business, whatever makes sense for what you're proposing. Do you need a contractor with a certain expertise? Do you need a consultant with a certain expertise? Do you need a research institution with a certain expertise to complete your feasibility study? So a research institution is allowed for the SBIR program, but a research institution is required for the STTR program. The STTR program was intended to foster technology transfer between small businesses and research institutions. And it does require you to partner with nonprofit research institutions, such as a university or a national lab or any nonprofit research institution partner. Another, the level of effort requirements are shown here also for STTR. The small business must perform a minimum of 40% of the R&D. The research institution must perform a minimum of 30% of the R&D, with another 30% available for other subcontractors or for the research institution or for the small business. Another important distinction between the two programs is the PI must be an employee of the small business for the SBIR program, but for the STTR program, the PI can be an employee of the research institution or the small business. So there's some differences here. We have a workbook. You can check compliance with the program. Very important to be compliant when you submit your application. And you can actually fulfill the requirements of both SBIR and STTR. And in that case, you can submit the same application to both programs. And since they are two pots of money for a meritorious application, it could improve your chances of receiving funding. But it's only if it makes sense to fulfill the requirements of both programs. So how does our funding work? Phase 1 is the first funding mechanism, the entry point into our program. You have to respond to our topics, our very focused and mission-aligned topics. The phase 1 study is a proof of feasibility of an idea that you have of taking your technology and developing it, tweaking it, pivoting it to another application. We do provide feedback on your letter of intent, or in the case, if your letter of intent looks like what you're proposing is not a good match, it's not what the program managers are looking for, you will receive feedback to that effect. However, it doesn't preclude you from continuing to develop and submitting your phase 1 application. You do want to digest the feedback and see if it makes sense to continue, or that whether you can tweak your approach in some way to be a better fit, or you can be more clear in what it is you're going to propose. The phase 1 award is a maximum of $200,000 or $250,000. You conduct your feasibility study over a 6 to 12 month duration period. That's your choice within that range. And we issue about 400 awards per year. If your phase 1 feasibility assessment works out, the project goes well, 9.5 months into your phase 1 award, you're going to want to submit your phase 2 application, which is for up to 1.1 or 1.6 million. The phase 2 study is typically conducted over 2 years. And you're focusing on developing your prototype, demonstrating your technology, and really pivoting towards your commercialization plan. So if you do submit a phase 2 application, if you get your phase 1 award, you submit your phase 2 application, the award rate is pretty high. The phase 2 award rate is up about 40%. That's not a bad success statistic for 1.1 or 1.6 million. The phase 1 award rate is at about 20%. For projects that can demonstrate that they need more time, more R&D effort to progress to commercialization, we do have a second phase 2 award. It's called either a phase 2A or phase 2B. And we have a third phase 2 award. We call that phase 2C. So in theory, you can receive up to 7 or 8 years of funding to develop your technology before you have to transition out of the SBIR program. We call that phase 3, non-SBIR STTR funding. It can come from the government. Maybe you're going to sell your technology to the government. Maybe DOE, that doesn't happen in many cases, but it can happen. Maybe to the Department of Defense is interested in purchasing your technology, or the commercial marketplace as well. So phase 3 refers to non-SBIR STTR funding. You need to be thinking about where that is going to come from, because if you receive phase 1, phase 2, funding, eventually that money will go away, and you need a source of cash flow to supplement, to replace the SBIR funding. So release 1 comes out in July every year. We have 6 program offices that issue topics. It just closed. The applications were due on October 10th, but you can see these are sort of like what we call the deep science offices. There's high performance computing topics, and there's topics around basic energy and better understanding of how energy and matter behave. They're looking at advanced materials, advanced plasmas, better instrumentation, better ways of better lasers, spectrometers, microscopes. The biological and environmental research program office is understanding how plant biology and animals consume energy, how they are structured, and they are also interested in studying the atmosphere and studying the ocean. So there's topics on plant bioimaging, there's topics on atmospheric monitoring, ocean monitoring, etc. The fusion energy science, they're looking to unleash the potential, the enormous potential of fusion energy. And they are looking at additive manufacturing, improved lasers, plasmas, superconducting magnets. High energy physics and nuclear physics, they are, there's a fair amount of overlap in those offices, but they are developing new accelerators, detectors, and computational tools to enable the understanding of matter and energy, understanding the building blocks of matter and nuclei. And funding instrumentation for the nuclear physics office, the funding interests are in advancing instrumentation. So I talked about November 6th, mark your calendars. These 7 offices are going to release topics on November 6th. These are more applied offices. You can tell by looking at the names, they're more applied offices. There's topics on nuclear non-proliferation, detection of nuclear threats, alternative materials that are out there in the private sector that would minimize the risk of nuclear proliferation. Our energy efficiency and renewable energy office has a number of sub offices, and so these offices include solar energy, wind energy, water power, fuel cell, and hydrogen, vehicle technologies, and more. So there's a lot there. Energy EERE is one of our biggest offices. They have a lot of topics on energy efficiency, new energy technology, decarbonization. Our nuclear energy office is looking for new advancements in nuclear energy and nuclear energy plant components. Cybersecurity office is looking really to protect the energy infrastructure. So cybersecurity measures that will kind of help our utilities, our grid, our power plants, etc. The Office of Electricity is interested in grid modernization. The Environmental Office, Management Office releases topics that are specific to cleanup of the nuclear weapons waste sites around the country. And then we have an Office of Fossil Energy and Carbon Management, and that's better utilization of fossil energy, more efficient utilization, and also carbon capture and sequestration. Okay, I won't go through this, but I think I've made the point. We have a lot of topics. We have a diverse array of topics, many more than you would expect, that are in line with the Department of Energy's threefold mission. I want to go over a new requirement that has kicked in fiscal year 2024. When you submit your application, you will also need to submit a 1 to 3 page write-up on your plan to promote inclusive and equitable research within your company. This is an office, we are part of DOE's Office of Science, and this is a requirement for all Office of Science solicitations. And I just want to point out that technology development and incorporation of DEI principles are not mutually exclusive, and research has shown that the strongest solution sets come from teams that recognize the importance of diversity of thought and reasoning to good, sound scientific discovery. So it will be a requirement. It's you attach it to your project narrative, and it's limited to 3 pages. The plan should describe the activities and strategies that your small business is incorporating to promote DEIA in your research projects. It is going to be it's a small part of the merit review criterion. It's not as heavily weighted as the strength of your idea, but it is a small part of the merit review criterion. And the scope of your peer plan should be integral and tailored to the research project. So it really should be part of the research project, whether it's an internship or the way your research project is structured to maximize inclusivity or the community that you're going to benefit. You do need to have it be part of it, not just something that's sitting out there on the side. And the phase 1 award is pretty small. It's $200,000. So it can be a very simple and focused peer plan. We recognize you all are small businesses and you may just have a couple of employees. So it's okay for the size. It scales with the size of your business and the size of the project. So just keep that in mind. It can scale with the size of the award, which for a phase 1 award is a relatively small award. So these are the 3 important technical review criteria in the past, and they still are the overwhelming majority of the technical review criteria. And here are the things you need to think about as you develop your application. It must be technology development. It must be research and development. Okay, you cannot be doing something that is not research and development. You can't be doing market research studies and it must be a novel idea. So it can't be something that has already been done. You need to, it needs to be a feasibility study, and you need to link your work plan to your feasibility objectives. You must be responsive, addressing the topic and subtopic that you are applying to. And it's very important that your team be composed of the right expertise in order to have the ability to carry out the project. So think about when you're putting it together, don't forget that subcontractors and consultants are allowed, and do you need to round out your team in some way? And finally, what is the potential impact of the R&D if your study is successful? But now we do have this 4th criteria, which is the peer plan criteria. The first 3 criteria are equally weighted and are greater weight than the peer plan criteria. Okay, so mark your calendars. You go to our funding opportunities page on November 6th. Open the topics document will be populated here in this blank cell. Open it, look at the table of contents, do some technology keyword searches, and see if there's something in there that you can be responsive to. And if you do think that if you do find something and you start to formulate a plan on what it is that you're going to propose, on that day, you can enroll in the Phase 0 Application Assistance Program. You can't do it until you actually sort of start to formulate the idea of what it is you're going to propose. So Phase 0 basically opens on the same day the topics come out. We do have topic webinars. And in those webinars, the program managers talk about what they're looking for. So don't miss those. Don't miss the funding opportunity announcement. It comes out, it tells you all the rules of the program, how to apply. And we have a webinar on that as well. Letters of intent will be due January 3rd. and full applications are due on February 21st. The topics look like this. They specify the maximum award amount. Don't ask for more than that amount for your research and development budget. They tell you if it's accepting both SBIR and or STTR applications. So make sure you only apply for the type of program that is being accepted under the topic. And when you need to read the topic and you need to read the subtopic. At the bottom of every subtopic, there is a contact. So you may reach out to your program manager to ask questions about your topic, the topic and subtopic. And you really want to limit your questions to being around understanding what it is that they're looking for. Get to know all of the references. You're expected to be an expert in your technology area, so make sure you're familiar with all of the references. So let's see. Yeah, open communication is permitted. I'm going to have to pause for 1 second. I'm sorry. Back, there was just a little bit of noise that I didn't want to have to endure. Okay, so yeah, these are sort of, this shows you the high level information in the topics. Okay, phase 0 assistance opens when the topics are released. You can always email us with questions. Please subscribe to our mailing list. You'll be invited to the webinars that I've discussed, and follow us on social media. We do have 7 Ask Us Anything webinars during the application process. So if you decide to apply and you're on our mailing list, you will be invited to those webinars and you can jump on a call and ask us questions. Okay, a little bit about phase 0. You get a coach, you get a person who's sort of generally an engineering or science, and generally an engineer or a scientist who's in roughly in your technology area. They're not going to be experts in your technology area. They'll give you about 20 hours of their time. They're going to help you put together your application. They'll review your letter of intent. They'll help you with the system registrations. Unfortunately, the SAM.gov registration is not particularly great. It's a little bit onerous. They do not write the application for you. You are bringing the guts of the technology and the expertise to the table. You are the one that's going to write the application, but they will review it and provide guidance, and they will make sure you have all the bits and pieces together and you don't make any critical errors in your application. It does the word is that it does take about 120 hours to complete your first phase 1 application. There's a lot there. You do have 3 months to do it. They help you get organized, make a plan, get a little bit done each week. So there you are about phase 0. And they help you with the budgeting information, and there's some other optional services as well. Okay, so I want to remind you all, as I was talking about at the beginning, is that commercialization is a statutory goal of the programs, and it's never too soon to start thinking about commercialization of your technology. What is novel about your technology? What is it that you offer that the competition is not offering? What is better about your technology? And who are your customers or investors going to be? So we are required to evaluate the commercial potential of your application. And commercialization can mean very different things. You're going to be, you might be launching your product and just selling it. You might be licensing your technology. You might be patenting your technology, and you might be raising funds, non-SBIR funds, to continue, from venture capital firms and other investors to continue down the road of technology development. Or you might be acquired by a larger company who will take the technology to the next level. Commercialization, or phase 3, that is cash flow from non-SBIR STTR funds. And it encompasses all of these different types of cash flow. Like I said, acquisitions, federal contracts, selling to universities or DOE national labs, and commercial sales, as well as private investments. So you need to think about where your cash flow is, which of these sectors your cash flow will come from, and what your business model is. There's a lot of diverse technologies that we support, and there's many different business models for revenue generation. Then these are shown here, sort of the breakdown of where our awardees are, their business models lie. No model fits all, so you need to sort of take a deep dive into which strategy is the best for your company, who is your target industry, and provide validation, support your decision. So I'll just go into a little bit about commercialization. You need to understand who your customers are. Who is the end user? Who are the key players, suppliers? Is there somebody in the chain that is going to be specifying your technology? What is your value proposition? What is the market opportunity? You need to understand your competition as well. And you need to generate a model for revenue generation once the SBIR funding has exhausted. And all of this is going to be required in, there is a phase 1 commercialization plan as part of the application. It's pretty short. And then in phase 2, for your phase 2 application, you will be taking a deeper dive into all of these areas because the phase 2 commercialization plan is much more detailed in terms of its requirements. Do you need partners? A very important question that you need to ask yourself. If you become a phase 1 awardee, I will show you later on that we do provide you with assistance in all these areas of developing your commercialization plan. We do have an example phase 1 commercialization plan on our website, and the funding opportunity announcements provides you with guidance for your 4-page phase 1 commercialization plan. And the phase 1 commercialization plan requires these 4 parts. And for your phase 2 application, the commercialization plan goes from a 4-page write-up to a 15-page write-up. So you spend your phase 1 period of time really trying to take a deep dive into your commercialization plan in addition to conducting the R&D. So start now. Try to talk as much as you can to potential customers and potential partners. You can ask them some of these questions. Can you get a letter of support from potential customers who maybe are interested? They're not necessarily have to say, oh yeah, we're going to buy this thing, but they might want to say, we will test this technology when it's ready. That could be your letter of support. We will do beta testing. And also just interest or in the technology from a subject matter expert in the field. And don't stop. It's an evergreen activity. Go back to your potential customers over and over again. Retest your commercialization hypotheses because R&D has a way of taking twists and turns, and things are going to change over time. Okay, if you become a phase 1 awardee, you have $6,500 over and above your R&D budget to embark on these commercialization activities. It's not a lot of money, but what it is it is a $6,500 for you to develop your phase 2 application commercialization plan. So you're really, rather than executing a commercialization plan, you're developing your strategy. The tab of funds are for third-party vendors. You cannot pay your own staff to embark on commercialization activity. You can pick your own vendor, and in that case, in your phase 1 application, you do need to provide who the vendor is, a letter of, not a letter of support, a letter of commitment, and then also a budget. But if you do nothing in your phase 1 application and you receive an award, you will be eligible for that $6,500 of support for our vendor, our DOE vendor, LARDA. And they will provide the commercialization services for all awardees who didn't budget for TABA services, okay? So if you are applying for an award with a maximum limit of $200,000, you would request $200,000 for R&D and $6,500 for TABA services if you were selecting your own vendor. If you were going to go with the DOE vendor, then you would only have $200,000 in your application. So here's the two options that I spoke about. Do nothing, and you can utilize the DOE selected vendor, or identify and utilize your own vendor. You can go look at the LARDA program by clicking on this link. And you may go to our partnering pages. We list vendors. We don't endorse any of those vendors, but we list TABA service providers on our partnering website on the commercialization services page. So you can take a look there. And these are the kinds of things that TABA funds are available, can be used for. And did I mention? Yeah, I didn't mention this going back. In phase 2, if you win a phase 2 award, you get $50,000 for your TABA services. So that's a nice chunk of money to execute your commercialization plan. How am I doing with time? Okay, I'm doing good. Do you have the right team? Ask yourself that question. Make sure you are making the maximum use of partnerships to strengthen your DOE application and increase your chances of successful commercialization. So partners might, in phase 1, include the right subject matter experts, or the right TABA vendors, or an engineering design firm. In phase 2, your partners might be venture capital firms, or in other investors, or companies that have expertise in helping you scale up, or other commercialization activities. So you need the right partners depending on where you are. Phase 1 is sort of more idea and proof of concept. You might be working with universities, national labs, consultants. In phase 2, you might be working more with engineering, support, prototyping, manufacturing, SMEs. And then also investors, importantly, investors and business service providers. So we have a partnering page. It's kind of, some of the resources are broken out into manufacturing, commercialization services, testing, certification services, and engineering design. So please visit the site and see what types of services are out there, and ask yourself the question, what it is that can help you in your technology development journey. There is a new voucher program, the Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations, the Office of Technology Transfer and Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy, helps lower the barrier on accessing testing facilities and subject matter experts. So instead of receiving funding, they provide you with resources in terms of testing facilities and subject matter expertise. So you can check that out. It's called Energy Works, this program. Here's other demonstration facilities that are already in existence at the national labs. You can reach out to these sites and check out the opportunities there. And then I want to just mention a few things about diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is a statutory directive of the Department of the SBIR STTR program to foster and encourage participation by underrepresented small businesses. So we're always looking for opportunities to elevate awareness to underrepresented researchers and founders. And, I am always willing to take suggestions, outreach suggestions. And we have a number of DEI initiatives. And one of them is the peer plan, which I already discussed. If you become a phase 2 awardee, after that, you can apply to hire an underrepresented intern to work at your company in the second summer of your phase 2 award. We do track our how we're doing. We do our best to educate underrepresented tech founders. We have a number of support programs, such as the Phase 0 program, and we try to come up with innovative ways of reaching underrepresented founders. You can see here that we track ownership of companies. Women-owned small businesses are the green line. You can see the numbers kind of fluctuate from year to year. The green line is sort of the trend line, and we're really at 10% for our awards for women-owned businesses, which is not that great. We need to do better. But DOE does fund engineering and physical sciences, which, women participation is not, it's not 50% in those fields. So we are trying to do the best we can against the pipeline that we are dealing with at this point in time. The purple is socially and economically disadvantaged, which are minority-owned businesses. Doing a little better there, but we did have historic highs in 2023. So these are very encouraging trends. DOE would like to get to 15% in 2024 for women-owned and SED-owned businesses. So we need to be doing better. I did want to mention that we also track underrepresented states. And New Jersey is, unfortunately, even though New Jersey is an economic powerhouse in many ways, it is probably heavy on the life science area. And it is, for DOE, it is an underrepresented state. New Jersey is not getting its fair share of DOE SBIR STTR awards. But we do have some success stories, and here's a couple of them. United Silicon Carbide, they have already returned the SBIR investment, and that not returned to us because we don't require repayment, but they have their commercial business was tripled in 2017. This is an older success story, and they've developed technology that operates at higher current and voltage ratings and comparable devices. The other one is the Optimal Solutions, and it is a software solution which helps large supply chains and enable cost savings. There's a couple of success stories. You can go to our success stories page and look at the 50 or so that we have on the site. Okay, just a reminder about how our funding works. Phase 1 is the entry point. It is the early stage idea. And if your feasibility study works out well, you will proceed to phase 2 and so on. And you can receive up to 8 years of support to commercialize your technology. You always need to keep your eye on where your funding will come from when the SBIR dollars run out. And then we have applicant resources, which I spoke about, but I do want to spend 1 minute, I'm almost done, talking about we have an I-Corps program. If you're a phase 1 awardee, you have an I-Corps program that is intensive customer discovery. You will interview 30 of your customers as part of the I-Corps program. So if you become a phase 1 awardee, make sure you enroll in phase 1, and we call it phase shift. It's also known as I-Corps. We have it for both phase 1 and phase 2 awardees. I spoke about the TABA program as well too, and the partnering resources, as well as we have a number of workshops around commercializing your technology. We have high performance computing services, you can get high performance computing time on our nurse computer system if you require them as an awardee. So we have a number of awardee resources that will help you. So when you become a Phase 1 awardee, make sure you engage with these programs. There's many other opportunities out there. For later technologies, such as scaling up, we have the Loan Programs Office. We have the Clean Energy Demonstration Office for demonstrating your technology. And then there are other programs for entrepreneurs, such as the LEAP program and the American Made Challenges programs as well. So take the next step. You're here, you're at an event. Review the information on SBIR.gov. There's an awards page on SBIR.gov. Type in some keywords on the awards page and see which agencies are a fit with your technology. Maybe DOE, maybe there's other agencies that have funded technology in your area. You should always be you should work on SAM.gov now. If you're interested in SBIR, it does take 6 weeks to get fully registered on SAM.gov. You can go to our topics document and do topics, even the closed ones, and look and see what we funded in the past to get a flavor of the types of technologies that we fund. We have a new online application guide, which does provide a number of overview topics as well about our program. So thank you very much for listening to my presentation. You can always reach out to me by email, or you can call me. I'm the Outreach Program Manager. And, you know, I have this cartoon over here, which just encourages you to ask for help if you need it. If you have questions, we have a lot of resources, and we would really like to, we're good about answering questions. We will get back to you. So do not be shy to ask us for help. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Eileen. We really appreciate it. I'm just going to ask that you have your slides up for the Q&A session, just in case you need to, toggle back and forth for the questions and need to show information.
Sure.
Yeah, for now, you can keep the slide to your contact information. So I would recommend our audience take a picture or just save that or write it down. Before we dive into the Q&A session, let me just remind our audience that this entire webinar has been recorded. It will be available on our website or YouTube channel. The link is shared, so please go take a look, maybe today, tomorrow. And if you would like access to Eileen's slides, then please complete our 3-minute survey. All you have to do is give us feedback on what you thought about this webinar. If there are any topics, webinar topics that you would like to have webinars on, any topic for small businesses, then just let us know. And then at the end, when you're done with that survey, you'll receive the link to Eileen's slide. All right, so let's jump right into the Q&A. Eileen, I'll just be reading them to you. If there's any questions, we can just ask our audience, our guests to expand on them. But other than that, I will take the NJSBDC questions and you can take the tech questions. Okay, so I believe when you were showing figures for budgets, Krishna asked, these are 2022 figures for the budgets. Can you give figures for 23 and 24?
So the fiscal year 23 year ended on September 30th. I don't know if you all know, but the fiscal year starts October 1st. So we don't have the fiscal year 23 numbers. It comes from the Small Business Administration. I was showing all the agency numbers. So it comes from the Small Business Administration, and we don't have them yet because they still have to prepare and submit their annual reports to the SBA, and then the SBA gives us the information. But you can go to our award on the DOE awards page. I can go back to that slide. On the DOE awards page, you can look at our awards from last year if you want to check that out. Here's that slide.
Yep. Thank you for that. We have Shakira who's asking, must applicants be in pursuit of brand new tech, or can we be in pursuit of applying current tech in an innovative and more sustainable process or methodology?
Yeah, absolutely. I tried to get that idea across that you can be taking your technology and applying it in a new way, tweaking it, pivoting it, seeing if it can solve a new problem. Absolutely. It does just have to be research and development, and it has to be a novel technology that you're developing.
Got it. Thank you. William asks, what if my application falls into two categories? How can we choose?
So small business, we allow a small business to submit up to 10 applications for a solicitation. Now, I don't recommend that. I mean, maybe if you're a 400-person company, you can handle 10 applications. But if you're a 2-person company, I wouldn't recommend 10. If you have a technology that can address 2 of the topics and subtopics problems, it happens all the time. You can submit 2 applications. They cannot be identical applications because they're different topics. So you're going to really have to customize each application to the topic that you're responding to. And so you may submit multiple applications per release. They have to be different applications. You can even submit the multiple applications to the same subtopic. Let's say you're developing technology A, you have a feasibility idea to do A, you have a feasibility idea to do B, and they both might address the need. You can do that as well too.
Got it. Thank you. Next question is from Alexi. Are contacts of program managers available?
Yes, they are. And I'm showing this slide. This has a screenshot of the topics document. You can go to last year's topics. If you go to our funding opportunities page, you can go look at last year's topics, and underneath it, do a keyword search because you're like maybe working in the area of artificial intelligence or, energy security or whatever. Whatever your technology is, do a keyword search, find a topic that is closest to what it is that you're doing, and reach out to those program managers. And as I recommended before, I don't recommend that you start to talk about how wonderful your technology is. Ask them about, say you're working in this area, what kind of funding opportunities are out there, and do also remain very aware that program managers are very busy. I think I mentioned that SBIR is 3% of R&D, so the program managers are specialists, and that SBIR is really like less than 5% of their responsibilities. So please be mindful of their time. Ask questions. Don't ask open-ended questions. Ask questions that are concise and easy to answer, and give them time to respond. And if you write to a program manager and you don't hear back from them, you can always reach out to me or our program offices, and we will ping them and try to get a response for you.
Got it. Thank you. We have a question from Mark who asks, if offering diverse solutions in different stages, is it possible to apply for phase 1 and phase 2 in the same program cycle?
You cannot apply for a phase 2 award without a phase 1 award. You progress from phase 1 to phase 2. So when you receive a phase 1 award, the phase 2 funding opportunity announcement will open, and you will submit it 9.5 months after your phase 1 award starts. So the timing is very staged and set. There are some very rare instances in which you can apply for phase 2 without receiving a DOE phase 1 award, but you want to take a look at the funding opportunity announcement with that respect.
Got it. Thank you. Question from Angela, or statement saying the website is saying that the application is closed. And I believe this is from when you were showing the phase 1, phase 2 applications and stuff.
Yeah, there isn't a funding opportunity announcement. Funding opportunity open now. You can see that applications were due last month for release 1, which are our deep science topic. But on November 6th, a topics topics will come out, and those applications are due on February 21st. So that's the cycle that's coming up. We have 2 a year, and it's 3 months after the topics document comes out is when your applications are due.
Got it. Angela, if we didn't answer your questions properly, or if we didn't, understand which application you were referring to, excuse me.
If you're talking about phase 0, then that opens on the same day that the topics come out, just so you know.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's completely okay. Yeah, just feel free to clarify, Angela, if we answered your question properly or not. All right, question from Anonymous. So a biomedicine research company may not be eligible to apply the one ending in November 6th at this point.
You can take a look at the document, but as far as life sciences are concerned, we have some topics related to farming, and when anything that has an implication with energy efficiency and decarbonization, if you have that angle, then there might be a fit for you. But NIH is the agency if you're doing biomedicine, and NSF may be a place for you as well too. And I suspect New Jersey has a lot of NIH SBIR awards, just not that many DOE ones, because we do a lot of life science research in this state. I am a resident of New Jersey. I forgot to mention that. I'm a remote employee, and I live in the great state of New Jersey. The much maligned state of New Jersey.
Much maligned. Yeah. All right, thank you. Question from Robert says, diversity question. Traditionally, government contracts and grants are supposed to have diversity with a certain amount of grant or contract dollars to certain diverse groups. What is the percentage of SBIR, STTR grants that are set aside for minority groups or disabled individuals? Please state applicable laws and regulations.
That's a really good question. For research and development, there are no set-asides. They're not lawful. Set-asides are used for government contracting, but not for government grants. Okay, grants are financial assistance for conducting R&D, and while we have a statutory directive to increase the diversity of the SBIR program, we can only fund the most meritorious applications. So that's why we offer things like the phase 0 program, which is a diversity pipeline for our program. And we do try to find ways to improve the diversity without set-asides. There are no set-asides in our program.
Got it. Thank you for that. Thank you, Robert. Cynthia asks, does a business have to be certified as a small business or WOSB in order to qualify for SBIR?
Good question. As part of the application requirements, you do have to register with Small Business Administration, and they do provide a verification process that you are a small business. So as long as you follow the directions and you register with SBA, and then you have to provide us with the SBA registration form when you submit your application. You do not have to certify as a woman-owned small business or an SED-owned small business or anything like that. It's a self-certification. You check a box when you submit the application on one of the applications form, whether you're women-owned or you're a minority-owned small business. And there is also a disability checkbox as well. So it's self-certification. There's no process for that. The ownership demographics of your business.
Got it. Thank you. We have 2 follow-ups from Robert on the diversity question that he just asked. So first one is, as a follow-up, EPSCOR, EPSCOR, is a program that spreads monies out to different states that have lesser research dollars from a particular U.S. department. Is this true with SBIR and STTR also?
No, it doesn't. Yeah, you're right about EPSCOR, but no, we are tasked with tracking our underrepresented states and hub zones as well, and how we're doing in those areas and trying to find ways to increase participation. But we do not, there's no set asides for underrepresented states, just like there aren't for underrepresented, other underrepresented groups.
Got it. Thank you. The second follow-up is, are disabled individuals included as part of the socially and economic disadvantaged groups? Furthermore, is someone's birth, sex, or identity equally considered? Is the same for someone's identity as belonging to a minority group such as Latinos, Asians, etc.?
So diversity is a very complex story, correct? I mean, we are tracking women-owned, we're tracking minority-owned businesses, we're tracking disabled businesses, underrepresented states, but there's so much more to it. Like, what's the composition of the company? What's the PI? Obviously, there's so much more to it than that. Please note that there are none of those are considerations in terms of receiving an award. There is a program policy factor for which you can look up in the FOA. A program manager may make a decision for a meritorious application, but if you go back to your question, it doesn't really necessarily impact the selection for an award, and we only have a very few things that we're asking in our application as well. But we recognize that true diversity is a complex matter, and I think we'll get better over time at tracking other aspects of diversity than we're doing right now.
Got it. Thank you. Praveen asks, I am a founder of a startup, P&at Solutions. How to get a consultant to proceed and understand the program better? Praveen, if that's a question for the NJSBDC, then please go to njsbdc.com/tech team. That website page will give you information on what the tech team does, what the capabilities are, who the consultants are. And there will be a link there, or there will be a little form to fill out that will tell you on how to register with us. And once you register, you will be assigned to a consultant. Please remember, our counseling is at no cost to small businesses in New Jersey. And we do only provide counseling to small businesses in New Jersey. If there are some specifications, if there are some loopholes or things like that, you can, feel free to feel free to talk to the consultant about them. But yeah, if you would like to ask something about that to Eileen, please clarify in the comment to the question.
Well, I think on the last slide, whoops. I guess I don't. Yeah, I do have a slide on health. Let me find it. I mean, there's one is the Phase 0 program. Once the topic's open, the other is just reaching out to us with emails. There's a lot of tutorials available. That's on the Take the Next Step. Here it is, application. There's Take the Next Steps. If you get on our mailing list, you will be invited to webinars where you can learn more about it. So there are a lot of resources, and you can go to the Phase 0 application assistance site, and there are a number of tutorials as well on the SBIR program. So between our website and the Phase 0, which is Dawnbreaker's website, there are ways to learn about the programs.
Yep. Thank you for that. And we have a question from John, which does seem like something that you might need to talk to a consultant for. But John asks, my wife and I have a CCTV business. Is this program something that we can take advantage of? Thank you.
I'm not exactly sure what you mean by CCTV. Is that a closed circuit?
CCTV as in the cameras that you would put up for small businesses. So they're in the business of selling that, but I don't want to presume. So John, feel free to
I mean,
clarify.
it is a research and development technology. If you're developing technology, and you can be responsive to DOE's mission, then yes, you potentially can take advantage of this program. But I don't know the specifics of your business.
Yep. So if you'd like to talk to a consultant, feel free to reach out to our tech team. All right. So, okay. So it was a security camera installation business. Okay. But I think you still might need to talk to our tech team, just so they can, help you when you discuss specifics. All right. So we will take two more questions, and I think we'll be done after that. Okay, so from Anthony, is there any assistance or permission required to work with a non-USA citizen expert who is currently engaged or involved in the company and who lives outside the country?
All of the work must be performed in the United States. So in general, no, that's not going to be allowed. Now, in very rare cases, if you can make the case that that expert does not exist in the United States, you may be able to get permission to utilize that person. I don't know how many cases of that have actually ever been approved, but we do kind of leave the door open there. But in general, I would encourage you to find expertise within the country, within the United States.
Perfect. All right. And one last question from Michael. I am a minority African American nuclear fusion startup. I can only focus on the science. How can I get the counseling needed to file these applications for R&D funding?
Well, we are an R&D program. So as far as, let me see, take the next steps. You do need to just go on November 6th to the topics document. And if you decide you see something, well, nuclear fusion, unfortunately, nuclear fusion, just their topics come out in July. So you can look in November, but in July is when the Fusion Energy Office is going to issue topics. So you're going to have to wait till the next cycle, which is July. So when you do find a topic, and I hope you do in July to respond to, then you do want to go ahead and apply for the Phase 0 Application Assistance Program. I do talk about research SBIR local assistant in your state and region here. That is New Jersey SBDC. I don't know what types of programs that you all have, but some states have. Obviously, you all have consultants to help advise small businesses on the direction they go to. And maybe there are some other application writing assistance programs as well. But look for your local assistance, and also please make use of our Phase 0 program if you're eligible.
Certainly. So we'll conclude our Q&A session there. I'll just share my screen.
Well, there's quickly a couple of questions left, and I did want to answer one of them actually,
sure.
Because I didn't manage to address that about working in the area of clean energy workforce development. And I want to, I did show you a sample topics document, and I do want to point out that we do have topics in workforce development at times. So take a look. And it has to do with like clean energy workforce development. Could be a very good fit with the kinds of things we're looking for. We do issue topics in energy justice as well. So if you are developing technology, but you are also providing, developing a technology that is going to be assist an underserved and economically distressed community, an environmentally distressed community, a rural community that has economically distressed. We do have topics in those areas. So I encourage you to take a look on November 6th to see what's there for you. And daycare providers are really not in the scope of what we fund. Okay.
Awesome. Okay, so for Joelle, Also check out NJEDA. They're doing great stuff for clean energy. They've had in in collaboration with the state of New Jersey, NJEDA has actually put out and started initiatives for the clean energy sector. So definitely check out their website, and that's NJEDA, the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. So that's something to look forward to. But all right, so with that, we will conclude our Q&A session. Thank you so much, Eileen, for today's webinar. We really, really appreciate it. I'm sure our audience appreciates it very much. A lot of information. So if there's any confusion, if there is any, any questions, reach out to Eileen. She shared her contact info. If not, reach out to us, and we can certainly help you connect or answer those questions for you. So thank you for that, Eileen.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Just remaining some things for our audience. We have upcoming webinars. The next one is on October 26th. That is from Ideas to Space, NASA SBIR STTR Program Overview. This is the first time we're doing something where the topic is NASA SBIR STTR. So definitely very exciting. If that's something that interests you, or you're just curious on what that could be, and you're in the tech space, then highly, highly recommend that you check it out and you register. You can either scan that QR code where you can register, or you can go to our Eventbrite page and you can register there. Just a reminder, our NJSBDC tech team helps innovators like you grow, no cost pitch to proposal consulting, training and events just like this one, starting at $0, exclusive small business tech resources. I do just want to point out for number one, no cost pitch to proposal consulting. I know we had some questions regarding this or confusion regarding this. So we have grant writers amongst our consultants. The grant writers, we are not allowed to, we are legally not allowed to at NJSBDC, allowed to write grants for any of our small businesses. And in other topics, like we're not allowed to write business plans or anything, we're strictly there to provide counseling. So what that means is if you hired a grant writer, or let's say you had someone, you submitted it, you got feedback from whichever company you applied to, and they had comments for you, we can certainly help you review that, or we can provide feedback on what's working or what's not working. So things like that, we can definitely help with your proposal. All right, so go to njsbdc.com, go to our socials, go to our tech team page, and get more information if you'd like. And with that, I will be signing off. Thank you so much for attending. I hope you have a good day. Get to take a walk or something outside, please do. And we will see you next week. Thank you.